So today I want to talk about the money beliefs that kept me broke and exactly where they came from. Because I think that it's important that if you're trying to build multiple streams of income, that you clear up any limiting thoughts you have around money and opportunities. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to build the kind of income that you want. You'll always feel like it's unreachable, like it's not for you, it's for a special kind of people. And I think that that's something that should automatically be a part of financial literacy classes. Teaching people how to let go of these limiting beliefs around money and opportunities, because they will put a major block on your money and you won't be able to see it grow, or you won't be able to hold on to it. I grew up in a household where my mother was on public assistance, my grandmother was on public assistance, and the only financial advice I ever received was this: find a man and let him take care of you. That was it. That was my financial literacy class. And I carry those beliefs into my adult life without even realizing it. I didn't want to rely on a man. I wanted to be able to make my own money. And so I thought, I'm going to go to college. Okay, I'm going to get my college degree, because the rumor is that if you go to college and you get a degree, you'll also get a good paying job and you'll be set. And so that's what I did. Went to college all the way up to my master's degree, got a job, made my money. And even with all that, I still felt broke. Because the problem was never really about the money. It was about what I believed about money and where those beliefs came from. Growing up, my mother was on public assistance. My grandmother was on public assistance. I don't even remember my grandmother working. I don't think she ever worked. I think she literally went from being on public assistance to like Social Security. My mom, my mom was in nursing school, and she did have a couple part-time jobs, but they weren't like long-term. So she was reliant on welfare. And I grew up constantly hearing, we can't afford that, shut the light off, money doesn't grow on trees. One day we're gonna go, one day we're gonna go to Hawaii. That was her favorite thing. We used to watch Fantasy Island when we were younger. On a Friday, it was like the lineup was Love Boat and then Fantasy Island. And if you're Gen X, you might remember this. Fantasy Island, we loved Fantasy Island because, like, I loved Friday nights, period, because of the lineup. It was Love Boat and then Fantasy Island. And my favorite part was like a few minutes before Love Boat was about to end, my mom would run into the kitchen and she would make like this tropical drink with Hawaiian punch and ginger ale. And then she would use a skewer, like the umbrella skewers, with a pineapple chunk and a cherry. And so when Fantasy Island started and all the guests were there and they were about to toast, we had our drinks to toast. And so that was like our favorite thing. And my mom would always say, you know, one day we're going to go to Hawaii, one day. But she never wanted to get on a plane. So that day never came. We didn't get to go on those kind of vacations. Those were like fantasies of hers. The furthest we've gone is the Jersey Shore, which was like 2 hours away. We would stay for a weekend and that's it. But Disney World was out of the question. No way. We couldn't afford that. We didn't go. We saw everyone else going, you know, our friends, relatives, they would plan trips, they would go, not us. Nope. So when you constantly hear things like that, you absorb scarcity as a fact of life, not a temporary situation. It's like a permanent identity. We are people who don't have enough. Like, that's the message. That belief followed me into adulthood, and I just would spend money, not even thinking about anything else. The minute I got money in my hands, I just spent it like nothing. And that is pretty much how we viewed money. You get money and you just immediately spend it on something and that's it. So there was never any conversation around opening up a bank account. This is how you save money. This is how you fill out a check. We never had those conversations. The only financial plan that I learned was dependency. Depend on a man to take care of you. Listen, that's what my mom and my grandma did. They depended on men to take care of them. That was the blueprint. Nobody asked the question nobody wanted to ask. What happens when he leaves? What happens if he doesn't want to stay? What do you do? What's the next plan? We weren't taught to be financially independent. We were always taught to depend on someone, but never how to prepare for an emergency. What do you do? Like, I learned survival when I got kicked out at 14. I was supposed to figure everything out on my own. So I learned survival. I learned because I had no other choice. But as an adult, like, to plan everything out, to plan that emergency fund, there was no conversation about that. Your emergency fund was a man. That's what I was taught. And that wasn't good enough for me because that wasn't my plan. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something big. I wanted to go to school, get my college degree, and save the world. That's what I wanted to do. So I went to college. Each time I got a degree, I was like, yes, I'm so much closer to where I want to be. And where I want to be is financially independent, making great money and saving the world. that was my plan. One of the most disappointing lessons for me was when I did start working and I was making money. I had money to buy whatever I wanted, whatever I needed. If it was toiletries, if it was clothes, if it was a television, I had money to do that. And that let me feel a little bit financially free as a 14-year-old. I used to sew a lot, and I remember going to the store, buying dresses, and then redesigning them and adding sequins and lace. And I was sewing with my grandmother's Singer sewing machine, you know, the ones that weigh a ton that fold into the table. I had one of those, and I was sewing. And I remember when I got kicked out, my mother had threw all of my stuff away. She threw all my clothes, every single thing that was in my bedroom, my books, my winter clothes, my shoes, my hair stuff, the clothes that I designed. Like, she threw everything in the trash. Trash truck came, picked everything up, and took it with them. And I was so devastated because I had worked and paid for all this stuff. My clothes that I designed, and it was gone in the trash. Like, it didn't mean anything to her that I saved money. It didn't matter. Money's disposable. Who cares about money? Money doesn't have value. Who cares? That was what I learned from that situation, that it just didn't matter. And I was so devastated because I worked so hard on these clothes that I designed because I wanted to be different from everybody, and I didn't want anyone dressing like me, and everything that I created in the trash. That moment taught me that the things that you earn can disappear, that saving doesn't protect you, that money is temporary no matter what you do. So why hold on to it? When I saw, like, my friends and relatives go on vacation, go to Disney World, I used to think, wow, they're rich. They have money. They can afford to go on vacation. Like, we can't. We can't afford it, but they can, so they must be rich. It felt like only special people can afford to go on vacations like that. I didn't understand why we were so limited. Why couldn't we get on a plane and go to Disney World? Why couldn't my mom sit down and plan out this vacation, even if it took her a year or two? Why couldn't she do that? Why was it that we had to miss out on that opportunity as little kids? That was my thought process. Everyone is rich and we're not. Something is wrong with us. We're damaged people. We can never reach that. We're not special like they are. So we could never reach that. When my kids were teenagers, I planned a trip to Disney World, and it was so stressful. It gave me so much anxiety because, number one, no one taught me how to plan a vacation. So I had to figure that out on my own. But then when I sat and looked at the prices and then everything I had to do, get plane tickets for each of us, decide which days we were going to go to which park, and then I had to think about the food cost. Everything stressed me out. I was so stressed out. And I kept saying to myself, oh my God, I'm going to be broke when I'm done with this vacation. I'm not going to have any money. But I didn't want my kids to miss out on an opportunity to go to Disney World. And I felt they were young teenagers. This was the perfect time to go with them. I just wanted them to have a good experience. I didn't think I was even going to have any money for the vacation once we got there because of all the money I had to spend on planning the trip. We went, we had a really nice time, and I didn't care about spending money when I got there. After I planned this trip, I felt so accomplished. I think a lot of it also has to do with self-worth. How we feel about ourselves and what we think we deserve to have. That plays a big part in how your money flows to you. If you don't feel like you're worth it, it's not going to flow to you. If you don't feel like you deserve to have certain things, the money is not going to come. That's why we have to clear that energy, because you cannot try to build multiple streams of income or a 7-figure income and still feel like you don't deserve it. You're not going to be able to see that kind of money. So you got to clear up all these money beliefs that you were taught that are not serving you right now, so that when you start building, that money comes so quick and so fast, and it just keeps expanding and growing because you know you deserve it. You know you worked hard. You deserve to have that money coming in. I don't ever remember having family conversations around money. No one sat us down when we got our first job to show us how to open up a bank account or how to save or how to write a check. None of that. You have to figure all of that stuff out on your own. And when you don't have guidance, you make the mistakes that nobody warned you about. Reckless spending, no saving, no emergency fund. Not because you were irresponsible, but because nobody handed you the roadmap for it. But guess what? I did all the hard work, because as soon as I started getting tired of being broke, I decided to sit down and I was going to take charge of my finances and really look at it to see where my money was going. And this is when I started saving. This is when I learned the importance of paying yourself first. And that requires a lot of confidence, a lot of self-worth, self-respect, self-love, self-care. You have to know that you deserve to have money coming in. And saving is one way of paying yourself first, showing yourself that you deserve it. So this is the reason why I created this series, because it's not just about creating these multiple streams of income, but it's also about clearing up those money beliefs that keep you stuck. I think that that is the first lesson that should be taught in financial literacy. And if nobody else is teaching that, you're going to learn that here. So I want you to stick around for this series, because in the next video, what I'm going to show you is a step-by-step how I took control of my finances, how I pulled my bank statements, sat down, I calculated everything, and I started plugging the numbers into my budget template so that I could see where my money was going, how much do I really need for my most important expenses, how much do I need to start saving for that 6-month, 8-month emergency fund, and also do I have any money left over to save for my vacation next year. That's what we're going to do in the next video. So if that's something that you want to learn because you're tired of being broke and you just don't know why, stick around. I want you to follow And I want you to share this video with anyone who you know is going through the same thing and is looking to get their money straight. All right, guys, I will see you at the next video.